Nothing destroys a family faster than the silent expectation that one child must sacrifice everything to fund the failures of another. I realized that painful truth while standing in a crowded room full of wealthy guests, listening to my father hand over my entire life with a microphone in his hand. The golden chandeliers reflected off our polished floors, creating an illusion of perfection that hid the rot underneath. I grew up believing that hard work earned respect, but my parents proved me wrong at every opportunity. While I spent years building my own corporate firm, my younger sister paid for her mistakes with family allowance. My success was always treated like an obligation to support everyone else, while her constant failures were excused as charming signs of a free spirit. Before you hear how this night ended, drop a comment below telling me where you are watching from and what the weather is like over there. Also, if you enjoy powerful stories about setting boundaries against toxic relatives, make sure to subscribe to the channel right now. Your support helps bring more real stories to life every single week. The tension started building long before the main event began inside our estate. I had arrived early with an expensive vintage gift, only for my mother to dismiss me without even looking up. She was too busy hovering over my sister Chloe, who was laughing loudly with her wealthy fiancé while showing off her massive ring. My mother reminded me that I worked too hard and needed to share my earnings. That word struggling had become the standard excuse for every poor choice my sister ever made. The guests moved around the bar, whispering patronizing comments about my single status despite my business achievements. A toxic relative smirked, telling me that men were intimidated by independent women, while others praised Chloe for not being tied down by ambitions. I sipped my drink, forced to swallow the bitter truth of their cruel judgment. My father eventually crossed the room with the fake smile of a seasoned politician. He wrapped a heavy arm around my shoulder, claiming he was proud, before dropping a subtle warning about taking care of family. His voice carried an ominous authority that left no room for debate. I nodded quietly, watching him walk toward the stage, knowing in my gut that something terrible was about to happen. The music faded as my father tapped the microphone, drawing every eye in the house toward him. He began a theatrical speech about generosity and the sacred bond that holds our household together. My heart hammered against my ribs as he turned toward me with a cold glare disguised as affection, preparing to deliver a blow that would shock every person present in that grand hall. With a triumphant grin, he announced to 30 applause-happy guests that I was gifting my luxury high-rise property to my sister. People gasped and started clapping, assuming it was an act of ultimate sisterly love. Chloe pretended to be overwhelmed with gratitude, while my mother wiped away fake tears. Everyone turned to look at me, waiting for me to smile and surrender my home without a fight. Something inside me snapped after years of paying their bills and swallowing their casual disrespect. I set my glass down on the wooden counter and clearly stated that I would not be giving away my private property. The unexpected rejection cut through the applause, turning the entire room instantly silent as my father stood frozen, utterly stunned that I had dared to speak up. My mother rushed forward, whispering that I was humiliating the entire family in front of our high society friends. I turned toward her and pointed out that I had paid for half of the party expenses, yet they still treated me like a convenience. Chloe began crying on cue, manipulating the crowd, while my father took 3 aggressive steps in my direction with anger burning in his eyes. He growled that I was defying his authority, stepping directly into my personal space before anyone could react. His heavy hand swung across the space, striking my face so hard that the impact echoed off the walls. The force threw my head back, knocking off my favorite silver earring, which clattered onto the polished marble and rolled underneath a heavy chair near the entrance. The room froze in total disbelief, but not a single guest stepped forward to defend me. My cheek burned with intense heat, yet I refused to give them the satisfaction of seeing me cry. I slowly knelt down, picked up my fallen jewelry from the floor, whispered a calm happy birthday to my sister, and walked out into the chilly night without looking back once. As I reached the private elevator in the grand lobby, I pulled out my phone with absolute precision. I sent a single coded text message to the one person who held real authority over our extended family assets. My grandmother was the founder of the original family wealth, and she had warned me months ago that my father would eventually cross a line that required absolute destruction. Within 20 minutes, a sleek dark sedan pulled into the private driveway outside the main venue. My grandmother stepped out, looking regal and uncompromising, her silver hair gleaming under the entryway lights. She did not need an explanation because she already knew the dark truth about her son, and together we walked back inside to deliver a final, unexpected judgment to the room. The live band fell completely silent as my grandmother marched into the center of the hall. She struck her wooden cane against the floor and demanded to know why my father had dared to lay a hand on his eldest daughter. My father stammered, attempting to claim it was a private domestic issue, but she cut him off with a look of absolute disgust and authority. She looked around at the cowardly guests and commanded my father and sister to get on their knees immediately to find my missing jewelry. The entire crowd watched in silence as Chloe crawled across the floor in her expensive dress, desperately searching for the missing piece. My father stood paralyzed with shame as phones were pulled out, recording his public downfall for the entire world to see. My grandmother then announced that she was officially removing my father from her legal will and revoking his executive control over the family trust. Every asset, business account, and estate was being transferred directly into my name effective immediately. The shockwaves rippled through the venue as my mother nearly fainted and my sister froze on the floor in utter disbelief. I stepped forward and placed the small silver earring onto the central table for everyone to see. I told my father that he wanted unconditional obedience, but from this day forward, he would only receive absolute silence. I turned my back on their desperate pleas for forgiveness, walking out of the mansion alongside the only person in our bloodline who actually understood the meaning of respect. By the next morning, footage of the shocking confrontation had gone viral across every major online platform. My father lost his key business partnerships overnight, while my mother was forced to resign from her elite charitable boards due to public outrage. Chloe was left with nothing as her fiancé called off the upcoming wedding to protect his own family reputation from the endless scandal. Standing by the floor-to-ceiling windows of my own penthouse, I looked out over the glowing city skyline with a profound sense of freedom. Walking away from toxic relatives is never easy, but protecting your peace is worth every single price you have to pay. True revenge is not about loud arguments. It is about building a successful life they can no longer touch or ruin. If you resonated with this story, please hit the subscribe button and turn on notifications so you never miss another dramatic video. Don't forget to click on the video appearing on your end screen right now to watch another incredible story of justice and triumph. Thank you for watching, and always remember to stand strong in your own worth.